the Ltac members that are on the phone. So I already have Dr. Mock. I have Dr. Morgan. And Dr. Wyatt. All right, so I'm going to call down the list, and if you're on the line, please indicate so. Francisco Garcia? Michelle Giles? Sharita Love?
I'm here.
Good morning, Sharita.
Good morning.
Ana Pena? Allison Reed? I have Alicia. And we're now... And we also have on the phone Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Shellady. Is there anyone on the line that I have not called or indicated that you're already present on the line?
Dr. David Weiss, this is David Shellady. Dr. David Weiss is here as well. He's the Dean of the Graduate School at UT Health, San Antonio.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shellady, and welcome, Dr. Weiss. For those that are on the phone, we'll be starting shortly. Please keep your phone on mute until it's time for you to speak to eliminate any background noise. And for those Ltac members that are on the phone, you've just been sent an email with some additional documents that you don't have, that the members here on the dais do have, so that you'll be able to follow along. I believe that's it for the people on the phone. If you just have your phone on mute, we'll be starting shortly.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Justin Louder, and I'll call this meeting to order for the Learning Technology Advisory Committee. And I want to thank our guests for calling in, and also our members that couldn't be here in person for calling in, and then everybody here in Austin for joining us. We have a relatively straightforward agenda today, a couple of items for discussion that we will get to in a couple of degree programs, but I don't think anything is too contentious, but well, we'll see. So with that, I'll call us to order, and looking around the room, I don't think we have any new individuals, so we probably don't need to do introductions, Andrew. And so we will go ahead and go into summary notes. So there are actually two different sets of summary notes that we need to look at. It was from our May 31st meeting, and also the July 24th meeting. The May 31st was a regular meeting here in Austin, and July 24th was the discussion of the Principles of Good Practice as a special call-in meeting. So with that, I'll open the floor to any comments, questions, corrections for the May 31st meeting first. Are there any comments, corrections, or additions for the May 31st summary notes? Okay, hearing none, I'd make a motion to approve the summary notes as emailed or as provided.
So move.
Lydia moves. Do I have a second? Who was that? Right down there, Vicki. All right, all those in favor of approving the May 31st minutes or summary notes as emailed, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll move to the July 24th, 2019 summary notes for the PGP conference call.
I do have a question.
Yes.
On number 3, where it says that there will be some updated language changes, additions, will we be seeing what those are, that change of languages?
Yes.
Yes, inside we're going to talk about that today. We're going to look at it in the breakout sessions, but you do have what the PGP and all the documents look like as of right now. We're going to talk about that today.
I'd like to ask that we put a section that's guests present and indicate that Michelle Singh was there as the former chair of the PGP committee.
So noted.
We'd also need to add, as a guest present, Dana Willett from Texas State University. I know they're reflected in the minutes, but I'd like them reflected as guests present.
Also noted.
Any other comments or any corrections, additions that need to be made to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to approve the summary notes from our July 24th meeting with the 2 modifications to add in the guests.
So move.
Okay, Ken moves.
Second.
Lydia seconds. All right. All those in favor of approving the summary notes as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So the summary minutes for our May 31st and our July 24th meeting have been approved. Moving forward, we will go to the discussion of Texas A&M University's adherence to THEB distance education policy and delivery of its existing Doctor of Philosophy, PhD degree in Interdisciplinary Engineering. And I will ask Dr. Mock, as the chair of the Doctoral Proposal Subcommittee, to discuss this proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Louder. The Texas A&M University, it has an existing PhD program in interdisciplinary engineering, and the proposal that is before Ltac is to seek approval for a distance education version of the existing face-to-face PhD program in interdisciplinary engineering. The target audience for this distance education component of the PhD program is for a specific target audience. And I invite Dr. Jacobs, who I understand is on the line to provide a brief overview of the proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Mock. Yes, this is Tim Jacobs. I'm the Director of Interdisciplinary Engineering for the College of Engineering at Texas A&M University. And the interdisciplinary engineering degree has been in our catalog for a few decades now and has been a successful avenue for several of our graduates to go on and have meaningful and productive jobs. Several of our graduates work in academia. One, in fact, is the president of the American Society of Engineering Education right now. And so it's been a very beneficial degree for our students who don't often fit really nicely into one of the conventional boxes of an engineering discipline like mechanical or electrical engineering. Their interests are interdisciplinary in nature and they're broad, and some of the classical or conventional departments are, for lack of better words, perhaps too rigid or too confined for their specific interests. And so they pursue interdisciplinary engineering for this reason and go on and have very successful careers. The particular motivation for making this degree, the PhD in interdisciplinary engineering, a distance education offering, specifically a fully online offering, is that we have several engineers working in practice, most notably at national research laboratories, but also in some cases at industrial research facilities, particularly in the state of Texas, who, for whatever reason, stopped their education at getting a master's degree and chose to not stay on for a PhD. And after working in industry or working at a national lab for a few years, they realize that they have the interest, the potential, as well as the beneficial gain of pursuing a PhD. The reason why the college has identified interdisciplinary engineering as the right program to do this is that what we're discovering is that as engineers start to work in industry, their discipline-specific training, while of course is very necessary and important, but it tends to not be totally reflective of the career that they're having while working in industry. In other words, the specific tasks and functions that an engineer is performing in industry or, say, doing research at a national lab, itself tends to be very interdisciplinary in nature. And so the College of Engineering determined that interdisciplinary engineering was the right avenue to be able to offer this online degree offering for those particular students. And in the near term, somewhat of an immediate need that we anticipate for this degree is Texas A&M. The Texas A&M system has come under the contract to manage Los Alamos National Laboratories in New Mexico, which is a large national laboratory, dating back to the rise of the atomic age, for example, in the 1940s and 50s. Of course, their mission now is peaceful sources of energy, but as all national labs get managed around the country, Texas A&M, along with two other universities, manages Los Alamos National Laboratory. And one of the most pressing needs that was communicated to us was that they have several of these engineers, these researchers who, that there's substantially more potential that can be gained from them in their functionality and their work performance if they had PhDs. And so that was what led us then to explore this further and to devise the proposal that you see before you now.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobs. Dr. Lofters and Dr. Lauder, additionally, I note on page 12 of 28 of the proposal, while this is a fully online program, there are components of the program design that also allow for face-to-face interaction to ensure the integrity of the program and cohesion both in student-student interactions as well as student-faculty interactions. I invite our other committee members from the Doctoral Education Proposal Subcommittee to provide any additional comments at this time if they wish.
This is Vicki. I'd be happy to make a comment or two. I thought this was a well-written proposal and really laid out the student interactions and when they would need to be on campus and when they would be identifying other mentors to work on their research project and everything. I just, as reviewing proposals, I just wanted to say I thought this was a very well-written, clear proposal that the students would know exactly what they needed to be doing when they needed to be doing it.
Thank you, Dr. Freeman. Other comments from the subcommittee? Dr. Louder, hearing none, I want to forward for a full Ltac consideration, a recommendation from the subcommittee that the proposal from Texas A&M for the distance education PhD in interdisciplinary engineering be approved.
Thank you, Dr. Mock. So we've had a recommendation from the Distance Ed Doctoral Subcommittee to approve the A&M PhD in Interdisciplinary Engineering, but I'd ask if any of the committee members, for the larger LTAC committee members, if they have any questions for our colleagues from Texas A&M regarding this proposal. Okay, hearing none, this is coming to the committee, the LTAC from a standing committee, the Distance Ed Doctoral Subcommittee, and so we'll move on to item 4, which is the consideration of recommendation regarding Texas A&M University's adherence to THECB distance education policy, subject to THECB review and analysis and delivery of its existing Doctor of Philosophy degree in Interdisciplinary Engineering. We have a motion from the Doctoral Subcommittee to approve this proposal as emailed or as submitted.
This is Patrick Bush. I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the PhD proposal from Texas A&M University in Interdisciplinary Engineering, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. To our colleagues at Texas A&M, the LTAC has approved your proposal, and so it will now continue on the process of review at THECB. And Dr. Lofters can indicate where that's going next.
Great. Thank you so much. Again, this is Tim Jacobs, Texas A&M. Thank you so much for your review and approval. We very much appreciate it. We look forward to working with Dr. Lofters on the next stage of the process.
Yes, so for the process, since this is an existing program, it now goes on to Assistant Commissioner for a final review.
Thank you. To our colleagues at A&M, you're welcome to stay on the line for the rest of the meeting, but you do not feel free to hang up whenever you're ready. Now, moving on to item 5, the discussion of the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio's adherence to THECB distance education policy and the delivery of a proposed Doctor of Philosophy degree in Health Sciences. And I will ask the Doctoral Proposal Subcommittee, but I believe this is Dr. Morgan, is going to lead the discussion there, because Dr. Mock, as I understand it, you are abstaining from the discussion because this is from your institution.
Yes, Dr. Louder, I need the minutes to reflect that I am not only recusing myself from the discussion, but would recuse myself from any vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mock. Dr. Morgan.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm pleased to present to the full committee the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio's PhD degree with a program in health sciences for your consideration. This is a new PhD program in health sciences, and it will have more than 50% of the program to be delivered online. I think that we have a couple of visitors on the phone. Is that correct, Andrew?
That is correct. You have Dr. Shelley.
So Dr. Timothy Jacobs He is with Interdisciplinary Engineering.
That was for
Sorry. Dr. David Weiss, right? He is representing University of Texas Health Science Center, as well as Dr. David Shellady.
Correct.
Would you guys like to give a brief overview of the program?
Yes. First of all, thank you. I want to thank the committee and the staff for helping us and assisting us as we work through this proposal. Very briefly, this proposal is to prepare PhD, primarily to prepare PhD faculty for faculty positions, research and leadership positions in the allied health disciplines. Allied health has been defined as the non-nurse, non-physician healthcare provider group, and usually in the United States, they exclude pharmacists and dentists. But just to give you a sense of the size and scope of the allied health workforce, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there's about 12 million healthcare workers in the United States, probably more today. Of those, about 3 million are nurses, less than 1 million physicians and surgeons, and less than 500 pharmacists and dentists, which means there's about 8 million non-nurse, non-physician, non-dentist, non-pharmacist healthcare providers. And if you look at that workforce, that represents about 60% of the workforce, so it's a very big group. In the disciplines that we're targeting, BLS projects shortages in the range of about 13 to about 37% over the next 10 years. And allied health practitioners are trained at colleges and universities, which means you need faculty to do that. Well, there have been continuing faculty shortages in the allied health disciplines, and it is very difficult to recruit and then retain faculty because of the competition. And this has been going on for many years and has been recognized by a lot of folks, including the Association of Academic Health Centers. Now, the purpose of our program is basically to prepare competent health science professionals at the doctorate level to assume leadership roles as educators, researchers, and leaders. And we also want to incorporate specific clinical-related leadership training in allied health specialty areas, develop people who can formulate appropriate questions, analyze and test hypotheses, and apply research results to health care. The program itself will consist of three major groups of areas. One, the major core areas, which would include specified coursework in education, research, and statistics and leadership, professional track coursework, which would be tailored to the individual's allied health area to sort of take them to the next level beyond the training that they got in their graduate programs, and then electives, which would allow the student, in conjunction with their program committee, to develop an appropriate mix of courses to meet their educational goals. And then a research dissertation, which would require a minimum of 9 credits for completion and a minimum of 2 full semesters to complete. Now, there's a lot of detail in the proposal, but I don't want to talk too much. I want to give you an opportunity if you have questions. So just to summarize, there's an acute need to increase the number of allied health professionals available to provide care in Texas and throughout the U.S. Coinciding with this need to train and educate additional allied health personnel is a continuing shortage of available, well-qualified allied health faculty. The shortage in available faculty has persisted for many years, and if not addressed, will further exacerbate the projected workforce shortages. And there is also a great need to train and educate individuals to be able to conduct outcomes research necessary to ensure patients get the right, cost-effective, and beneficial care, and to develop and evaluate new diagnostic and treatment methods as they emerge. So David Weiss, Dean of the Graduate School, and myself, Dean of the School of Health Professions, are here and available for additional questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Shellady. Before I present this to the subcommittee and the full committee for discussion, I will say that the Ltac subcommittee had a couple of questions of clarification that we sent back to be answered. One was on clarification of delivery modality, and the second was on a question about doctoral research and dissertation process. We received what I believe is, and the committee believes is satisfactory responses on both of those questions. I will just point out for those that have looked through the documents that on the delivery modality, the core courses will be delivered 100% online. The electives in the program, you'll have the option to take face-to-face or online. So we received clarification on that. So at this time, I'd like to ask if anyone in the subcommittee or full Ltac would like to discuss this further or have questions for our visitors. If not, then Dr. Louders, I would like to submit this proposal to the full Ltac committee with the recommendation that it be approved.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion from the doctoral subcommittee to approve the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio's proposed PhD program with the additional information and provided, and I'm guessing, Andrew, that will be added to the proposal in general, the supplemental information?
The information was also taken into account with the program director that's reviewing. We're going through the process of reviewing this for approval and presentation to the board, so that's been included with theirs.
Okay. I'd ask if there are any other questions from the committee. Oh,
I'm sorry, and
please,
I
Vicki.
appreciate the clarifications that that they sent forward. I'm sorry, this is Vicki Freeman, UTMB. And I think the proposal is very important, the program is very important. I do think just need to be very clear, like the Texas A&M one, of when the students need to come to campus and when they don't. I still don't think that's clear in this proposal. I mean, like Texas A&M's talked about, you know, coming for orientation and meeting at certain times. This still does not feel that clear to me. I just think that's really important for the students to have that clarity with it. So that would be my suggestion of some clarification.
Okay. I'd ask our colleagues from San Antonio if you'd like to address that at this time.
Yes, we've had a lot of discussion about this, and I think what we need to do is we need to put it in the document so that it is clear to students. In terms of the trips to San Antonio, orientation would be a good thing, as well as we're still a little conflicted about the dissertation defense. But we need to work through that and make we intend to provide the dissertation defense option by video conference, and so we're not 100% clear that we want to do that. We may simply put the students have an option to come to campus for their dissertation defense.
Yeah, this is David Weiss. We have several other PhD programs. Typically, they do the defense takes place on campus, but we have in special cases been able to do this. It works. We can make it work, and so I think that option will be there. I would suggest that we would probably encourage a face-to-face. It's always good on many different levels, but if it's just not possible, we can handle a distance defense.
Dr. Mock, as the Vice President for Academic, Faculty, and Student Affairs in San Antonio, at UT Health Science Center San Antonio, would you like to address any of the concerns in your role from UT Health Science Center, not your role from Ltac?
So in my role from the academic affairs and faculty and student affairs standpoint at UT Health San Antonio, we've had really robust and thoughtful conversation about this program, and as it's described, it will be in a blended delivery model. We want to keep the flexibility just because many of the students will actually be working professionals, but to the extent that some components of the program has a face-to-face delivery model, that always enhances the collaborative learning and cohesion in the program. We take very seriously the feedback from Ltac and from the external reviewers, and are really pleased to incorporate the feedback that they have provided us.
For my clarification, Andrew, are we voting to approve this as both a hybrid and online program?
We're looking at the delivery we're looking at, does it have the components to be a quality online delivered program? So that does have the face-to-face component, but what I'm understanding, which I understand from you, Dr. Freeman, is that the concern was it wasn't quite sure how much was actually going to be online and how much was actually required to be on campus. But I think that in the response that was presented, it depended on the student. And if my colleagues from UT Health Science Center San Antonio could elaborate, but it sounded like since the elective courses had both a online component or a face-to-face component that they could choose, the actual amount of time that was required on campus was sort of an option to the student. They could choose which way they wanted to go. Am I saying that correctly?
That is correct. This is David Shelley. That is correct. All of the core courses would be online, but the elective courses, the student would have the option.
So I think we're trying to approve it as an online program, but knowing the student has the option of making it a hybrid if that's the path they chose.
This is Patrick.
Dr. Morgan, this is Jacqueline Mott. So if I can paraphrase that differently, and Dean Shelley and Dean Weiss, I invite you to comment as well. So from the purposes of Ltac, 50% or more of the coursework will be available 100% online as online courses. But it's not fully online. It's not because of the options in there. So within the categories of the divisions for distance education delivery, it falls within the coordinating board in the Ltac bucket of greater than 50%, but not to the fully online version of it. Does that help, Dr. Morgan and Dr. Lauder?
Yes, I believe that clarifies my my question, and I believe.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mock.
Okay, and I believe you have another question.
Yes, this is Patrick Plush, UNT. I had a follow-up question regarding electives. I understand that some of those will be site-based exclusively, but is there a pathway through this program that you can choose electives that would allow you to complete that online or significantly online?
Yes, this is Dr. Shelley. Yes, there is. We've already identified a suite of courses online that students could choose with their committee's approval for their electives.
Thank you.
And sorry, and I just want to clarify, you just, I think you said something that I think is key. The student working with their committee and their advisors will determine the best modality of coursework for them. Is that what it was?
That is correct.
Okay. So then they'll have regular interaction with their advisor and their committee to make sure they're progressing through the program how they need to, and making sure they're in the appropriate courses for their degree, and also works with their schedule.
That's required. This is David Weiss. That's required in all our PhD programs. There are scheduled regular committee meetings. Of course, they're working with their mentors more on a daily basis, if anything, but they have to have regular committee meetings that keep track of their progress through the program.
Okay.
They also are required to submit progress reports.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the Ltac committee?
One more question related to electives. This is Patrick Plush from UNT again. So you mentioned that, yes, there is a pathway through where they can take significant number of the elective courses online, or enough to meet the program requirements. Are there conversations with the other elective areas about increasingly putting those courses online as well?
There are, but it is such a wide, we intentionally put a wide scope of options there to be selected based on the students' career goals and approval of the committee. But yes, we have had some discussions with some elective groups to put them online.
Thank you. And the reason I ask is because what I think we see when you have these types of flexible options is that students will choose the coursework that helps them get to the degree fastest, whether or not it is the exact coursework that would benefit them in their careers, just because it is the most flexible. So the more options you have, the better it is for students to be able to tailor it to their actual needs. So thank you for continuing to work on that and addressing the question.
That's excellent feedback. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay. We'll move on to item 6. Consideration of recommendation regarding the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio's adherence to THECB distance education policy, subject to THECB review and analysis and the delivery of a proposed Doctor of Philosophy degree in health sciences. And Dr. Morgan, I will go back to you as the doctoral subcommittee representative to get the doctoral subcommittee's recommendation.
We'd like to submit it to full Ltac for recommending that it be approved.
We have a motion from a committee recommending the approval of the proposed PhD in health sciences. I have a second.
This is Patrick Klush, I second.
Okay. We have a recommendation and a motion and a second. So all those in favor of approving the proposed PhD in health sciences at UT Health Science Center San Antonio, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstention?
Dr. Louder, if you would know my refusal on the vote.
Yes.
This is Jacqueline. Thank you.
We will do that, Dr. Mock. Thank you. Okay, to our colleagues at UT Health Science Center San Antonio, Ltac has approved the proposed PhD program, and it will now continue forward in the THECB review process, and Dr. Lofters can clarify what the next steps might be.
Yes.
Well, on behalf of David Weiss and myself, I want to thank the committee and the staff members for helping us facilitate this proposal and make it as good as possible.
And for the process, since this is a new program, it still has to go through some more review with THEB staff and the AQW division, and eventually, hopefully, go to cause and the board for final approval.
Thank you. Our colleagues from UT Health Science Center San Antonio, you are welcome to stay on the line, but do not feel the need to. So we thank you for being with us today, and the coordinating board will be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now go to item 7 on our agenda, which is the update on state authorization reciprocity agreement. Sarah and Jessica's here.
Okay. Oh, that's kind of loud. I only really have one item today, and that is California. I'm sure we're all aware. So California, as you know, is the only state that has yet to join SARA. Currently, they have no oversight over public and nonprofit institutions that offer distance education to their residents. That caused a problem recently when a judge decided that the 2016 Department of Education state authorization rules would go into effect retroactively to May. So this means that students who reside in California but are taking courses online at out-of-state institutions are no longer eligible for Title IV financial aid. Unfortunately, I wish I had some sort of updates for you. However, we're kind of in a wait-and-see mode. I can tell you that as far as SARA institutions nationwide, this will impact about 80,000 California residents. For the state of Texas, in 2018, we enrolled around 2,500 California residents. So that's, quite a few students that are impacted for our Texas institutions. WICHE is currently working with the state of California to develop a complaint process, which would then satisfy those 2016 rules that are now in effect. But until that happens, those students are kind of in limbo as far as their financial aid. As far as getting the most recent information, I encourage you to check out WCET, SAN. NC Sarah has been really great about posting updates, so if you don't subscribe to their email blasts, do that. They also post a blog on their website with the most up-to-date information. So that's not really an update. That's really all I have. If you have any questions, I can try and answer or direct you to a resource that may have the answers.
Jessica, I had received some information from our provost from August 5th, and there was an indication that California had, in fact, put a satisfactory complaint process in place as it relates to federal financial aid. They are not NC Sarah members, so everything else still applies in terms of how you go about doing business there. But then it was subject to approval by the Department of Ed, and that was a couple days lagging, but that was provided too. So that reinstated financial aid eligibility for students in California.
Oh, well, fantastic.
Yes, this is Pam Morgan at MSU. And in the response letter from DOE, they said that the proposal, although was not sufficient, it was good enough to allow students to continue with the understanding that it would be amended. Is that how you understood it, Patrick?
Yes.
So good enough means we're okay for the fall?
That was the understanding of the letter, at least the way that we read it, and it sounds like Patrick agrees that we can continue forward as long as California agreed that they would be amending that grievance process.
And additionally, not only does it apply to fall, but it also meant that those students who received disbursements during the summer on or after May 26 are eligible to keep those as well. So there's no requirements for them to pay back that for that brief period where they were ineligible. So good news on that front. Still love to see them join NC Sarah in full and have a robust complaint process, but this is a major relief.
I will say that I don't think any of us have a very good grasp on what to put on our websites in terms of who to contact for their grievance, but I would think we will be hearing about that very, very soon.
So, Jessica, and you may not know, because of this, has there been any movement from California to join NC Sarah?
Not that I'm aware of. I do know that the new president comes from WICHE, and prior to that, she was at a for-profit, which is actually the for-profit I came from, in Southern California. So we're hoping that she'll be able to kind of lead the way and bring California in. But
I'm sorry, the new president
of NC Sarah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I have a question. It's still with NC Sarah. Can you clarify for me the physical presence rule with NC Sarah? How many students equal a physical presence?
You can have 10 at one location, up to 10. Anything over 10 at one location at one time would trigger physical presence.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And there is some ambiguity about what a site is defined as, and NC Sarah hasn't really made it clear if it's, is a hospital a site, is a department within a hospital a site. So I think right now it's free to the interpretation of the state that's hosting that site.
Okay. Any other questions for Jessica? Okay. Jessica, thank you for joining us again and providing the update, and sure we'll be interested to see what happens next. And so I think we'll ask you to continue to give these updates to us at our next meetings. Moving forward in the agenda, we now are come to item 8, which is the work group breakout sessions. And let me turn it over to Dr. Lofters.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the work group breakout sessions. There's two things. One, there's also a roster inside your packet that shows the dates of each of the members' terms, because some of the members' terms end this year, and you need to look at the committees that we have, because really it's sort of fortunate that we're having a meeting now so that we can get all the information for each of the committees so that we can pass it on to the next group, whoever that may be, because there's going to be quite a few people that will come on in the next meeting, which we're hoping, we were trying to schedule in November. And I'm going to give some dates at the end of the meeting. But the ones that are on this work group list, the one that I didn't take off that I should have, and I wanted to bring this up to committee if I should be taking it off, is the distance education definitions work group. I believe we said last time we should take that off. I'm not sure.
I believe that work group covered everything that needed to be covered, correct?
That's what
Justin, correct?
I believe so. So we can remove that work group from our subcommittees.
Okay, good. So then, the ones that that I would need to talk with during the work group breakout session is one with the inclusive access, because we've gotten to a point where we need to gather all the materials together and tell exactly where we're on that point so that we'd be ready to go on for the next, and to choose someone that is here today that might want to take that information and lead that as we go on to the next cycle for this academic year starting in November.
Andrew, my count is every person that is currently on that work group, their term ends in 2019. Correct.
See, and that's my question, how we're going to move that forward. Mark is the only one. Mark is still here. Right, Mark is still here. And,
That was an easy one. Oh, there you go, 2020, sorry, Mark.
So it sounds like congratulations, Mark.
so I will need to meet with Mark during that time to talk about that. The 50-mile radius work group, and we would like that one to meet and discuss where we want to go, and how we're going to transfer that information over, and keep in mind who's going to still be on the committee in the November, as well as survey and the principles of good practice. We're going to try to get in touch with Michelle. I'm trying to see if she can call in as well and tell where we are. You do have that, but I was going to talk about it when we come back from the work group, but you do have a copy of where that is currently. But that's what I wanted to do, make sure that everybody notices where they are as far as their term and who's on the committee so that we can sort of organize ourselves for coming up academic year in the first meeting in November.
So in looking at, so just starting at the top, the Distance Ed Doctoral Proposal Review Subcommittee, Dr. Monk, who has served as chair, her term ends in 2019. Dr. Morales' term goes forward. Dr. Morgan's term, I believe, goes forward, yes. Dr. Murphy's goes forward, and Dr. Freeman's as well. So we need that group to determine a new chair.
So, Justin, it's Jacqueline.
Yes, ma'am.
I've just been reappointed. I don't feel that I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to serve as chair, but I'm also happy to let somebody else serve as chair. But I just as an update, I've just been reappointed to Ltac. So
Nobody's wildly waving their hand saying they want to chair. So you may
Such a beautiful relationship the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Okay, well then, Dr.
You know
Mock,
who I was going to nominate otherwise.
I do. That's why I spoke up.
okay, well then, good. Dr. Mock, we will be happy to welcome you back in November then. Okay, so that one's good. We're going to talk about the Principles of Good Practice Work Group. The survey will meet. Distance ed definitions does not have to meet. Inclusive access, we already have another chair, but Mark can't do all of that alone, so we need to think about adding some new members to that committee. And then the 50-mile radius work group, we will stay engaged, and we'll probably have some shifting of members, but looking at this list, I think everybody, or all except one or two, are coming back. So with that, it is 10 till 11. We typically do breakouts over lunch, but we're running a little ahead of schedule, so.
And also, I have 3 rooms, in case you do need to call in, I have 3 rooms that people, groups can go to.
Okay.
That have phone access. So we'll be, and that's not a problem.
Right.
We can have phone access.
So lunch, we're thinking be here between 11 and 11:30, so any time now. So should we break until 12:30? Or is that too long? I'm trying to think, because if lunch isn't here till 11, I'm just trying to make a schedule.
Maybe 12:15?
12:15?
I was saying that, I was thinking that was myself, 12:15.
Okay.
And then we can also look and see where we are at that time.
Okay. And if we have to, we can extend. Okay, so the Learning Technology Advisory Committee will adjourn for breakout sessions and lunch, and we will reconvene at 12:15. Andrew, what rooms do we have for committees?
Thank you. Blue Bonnet, Lone Star, and P16 rooms we have available. So I'll show you where all those are.
Okay.
Fine.
Andrew, it's Jacqueline. If you have one of the committees that we want to meet, for those who are online, would you just shoot us an email and just let us know if there's a call-in number?
Yes, I will. We can.
Okay,
I can go
great,
to those rooms
thanks.
and get the number. For the doctoral proposal subcommittee, we handled all of our business pretty much during this meeting. There is one more coming, so I don't believe you really need to meet for the doctoral program. I'll give you another one, another proposal that we'll be addressing for the November meeting.
PGP doesn't need to meet.
And PGP, you don't think? Yeah, I was gonna say you're on that one. You know where we are on that process, so
I think we just need to update the committee.
just need to update when we come back. So PGP, we don't really need to meet. So we have really the survey, inclusive access, and 50-mile. Correct?
Yes.
All right.
All right, we will stand adjourned until 12:15.
Giles. Hello, Michelle.
Hi.
Sharita Love.
Here.
Hello, Sharita. Jacqueline Mock. Yeah. Pam Morgan.
Here.
Thank you, Pam. Ana Pena. Allison Reed.
I'm here.
Hello, Allison.
Hi.
Alicia Wyatt.
I'm here.
Oh, thank you, Alicia. Once again, I will say, gosh, Francisco Garcia, once again, and Ana Pena. All right, we have 2, 3, 4, 5 on the phone. We have quorum. Oh, sorry, but is anyone else on the phone who have not called? Okay.
All right. We will come back from lunch and breakout, and we'll have some reports from the breakout committees. So what we'll do is we'll kind of go in a little different order than what is on our working group to give the survey group a little bit more time to work through. Unless are you good to go? Okay, so we'll go to the survey committee here in a second. We'll start with just kind of a report out. We can start then with, we can just start with principles of good practice. Correct. And we'll do principles of good practice, we'll do inclusive access, 50-mile radius, and then we'll go back to the survey group. So first, principles of good practice. Vicki had a question about the changes that were made and the discussion that we had. I will just update the group. After we had the phone call on July the 24th, I believe, Patrick and myself met with representatives from Texas State to go through the concerns that they had with the document. And Michelle joined us as well to kind of lead that discussion as the working group chair of the PGP group. I think we had a very positive conversation with our colleagues from Texas State, and we worked through their concerns. And really, I don't think we made any substantive changes. We modified some language, modified a word here and there, and then highlighted a couple of things that were already in the document that aligned with some of their concerns. Josh was on the call as well, and if you'd like to say anything, please feel free.
Sure. On behalf of myself and Texas State and our leadership, I want to thank the committee and Justin, you and Patrick, and the leadership of the committee for your being receptive to inviting a special guest, our Assistant Vice President for Distance Learning, to provide input and for being receptive to our comments. So we appreciate that.
And so now, so overall, the document remained mostly intact from our meeting. It was just a couple of words here and there. And somebody just dialed in, so before I move forward, I'll ask, who just joined the call?
Justin, it's Jacqueline.
Okay. Jacqueline, welcome back. And I believe that Michelle was going to try to dial in if she could, but I'm not sure. if she's been able to or not. So with that, I'll ask Dr. Lofter to kind of talk us through next steps with the PGP document. And he provided, for those of us in the room, he provided some handouts, and I believe he emailed to those on the phone the documents he's going to reference. Dr. Lofters.
All right, so we, after the meeting on the 24th, with the vote for the Principles of Good Practice in the meeting with Texas State, it was then time for us to send it through, or start the process of routing it for approval through the coordinating board. We've gone through the first set. If I recall correctly, I did mention to the committee during the last meeting that we're looking for formatting changes. We weren't going to really change the content. We're going to make sure that it applies to the formatting and style standards of the coordinating board, because really it's going to be a coordinating board document. It's going to be published on the coordinating board website. So I'm going to go through the changes that might, they're not really major. If we want to go to the first one, which is the Principles of Good Practice for academic degree and certificate programs and courses offered at a distance, it is the executive summary page. It's a one-pager, 2 sides. For this one, it was basically just making things standardized. So for instance, throughout our document that we had before, we just had SACS as SACS, and now it's SACS COC. It's just formatting and style standardization throughout the document. All the information is the same information that you had previously. If you can look through that. And on the back, just so you know, the difference that we have on the back is that it was recommended that we separate the institutions into type. So we have 2-year public institutions, 4-year independent universities of Texas, and associations, because at first we just had institutions. So we just separated them into different categories. Anybody have any questions? If you see anything on this one, let me give you a little time to look it over, see if you see something.
It looks like Tyler Junior College is lumped in with the 4-year institutions, unless the columns are different. Because it's in that second column
Oh,
there.
thank you.
Yeah, we just got a promotion, didn't we?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Gotcha. Thank you for that catch. Will be changed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wharton County Junior College is also under public 4-year.
Gotcha. Put that in there. Change noted.
And Tarrant County.
Got it too.
Okay. One question, Dr. Lofters, that Patrick just brought up in the paragraph that starts with each topic in the document was derived from a collective review of the original PGP. As Patrick just pointed out, the original PGP was a document. Southern Association of Colleges, Schools, CRAC, Quality Matters, those are all, and OLC are all organizations. Does it need to specify that a collective review of the original PGP guidelines, Southern Association of Colleges, Schools, Commission on Colleges, what'd you call those? Standards.
Okay.
CRAC, I believe CRAC are guidelines. And Quality Matters rubric. And then OLC actually says the scorecard, so I think that's okay.
Okay, and you said which one was the rubric?
I believe Quality Matters would be the rubric.
They want to make it plural since they have different ones now for courses and programs and.
Oh, yeah.
Say it again.
Rubrics.
Rubrics? And you said that, okay, so PGP, guidelines, Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, guidelines, correct?
Standards.
Standards.
Mm-hmm. CRAC would be guidelines, Quality Matters would be rubrics, and OLC actually is a scorecard.
Okay, I got that.
That would just be my suggestion. Well, Patrick mentioned it. I'm saying it publicly.
Not a problem. All those are noted.
Okay.
Andrew, it's Jacqueline.
Yes, go right ahead.
Again, page 2 of the executive summary under public 4 years. South Texas College, isn't that a 2-year institution as well?
Oh, got it. Thank you. I don't know how that happened. Oh, my fault. All right, got that noted. Thank you.
Yep.
And the document previously had University of Texas Health Science Center, but it didn't actually specify. We're assuming that it was at San Antonio due to, Dr. Mock's participation. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, and I'll clarify that, but that's what we're putting it on.
Okay, so that's the executive summary, and this is what is provided to cause?
All these will be
All these
provided. In fact, these and another blue page, it really gives a description of what the committee's doing.
And then the next, the stapled document, this is the actual,
These are the actual.
this is the actual updated and new
Principles of good
document.
practice, correct.
And then the document that has the chart, that is the crosswalk that
That is
we have
what, yeah,
worked
we call it the mapping document. It didn't have a title before, so some of the things that changed, let me go to the first one, which is the updated document, the actual principles. Some of the things that changed were, if you notice up at the top, there's no longer an asterisk next to the title. The reason being is that the part in the third paragraph that talks about complying, that's where the asterisk reference to. We just made that into a paragraph, put those in paragraph form, put them up there inside the definition section.
I think, Andrew, that the second sentence on that third paragraph needs to model the changes we just made on the executive summary.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Stating here, this document was derived from the original PGP to have it map or model exactly what we did
Right,
on the executive summary.
so we'll
changes.
put in their guideline rubrics.
Yep.
Where's this,
The last sentence there, where it says the CRAC, so that would be
CRAC guideline?
guidelines, Q and score chart. It would be the same thing, model the language.
And just take out the, I heard you say that to her, correct?
I think it came from, yeah, I would take out the,
Okay.
and it came from CRAC guidelines originally, but is also referenced in, and that's where I'd put in QM rubrics, SEC standards, and the quality scorecard.
Okay. So now if what I'm thinking, just
Yeah.
to follow style, if I tell you those guidelines up here and then associate it with a certain acronym like CRAC,
Yeah, that
I
should
could just
work.
keep those down there. Okay, all right.
Yep.
The rest of them were just wordsmithing. So for instance, inside the document, sometimes you had in there, and one that comes to mind was programs and courses. And then sometimes it said courses and programs. So then we made it the same throughout, courses and programs throughout, something like that. There was that kind of wordsmithing that went through. Everything is pretty much exactly the same as we had before when we had the last meeting, and we included on the last page, page 7, number 6 is the addition that came from the meeting with Texas State University and Ltac leadership, where we said that the institution demonstrates efforts are made to ensure compliance with federal student financial aid requirements. And we decided to put it underneath that section because that section was adherence to federal requirements.
Okay, any questions? Okay, Andrew, so what is the process now?
The process now is, it has to finish the routing process. Once it gets through AQW, which right now we're at the highest level, the top level of AQW, now it goes down and is submitted with the rest of the materials to the Commissioner's Office for review for inclusion on the cause meeting in September. I've already talked to you about attending the meeting. I've asked I think I've emailed Dr. Singh as well, or texted, we talked about it, about coming to attend the meeting to explain this to the committee. I believe this shows you where we are right now. In the last document, or the mapping document, only thing that is different here is that the statements reflect exactly what's inside the PGP. Sometimes they were a little bit different. And I took out all reference to correspondence due to the fact that we don't have any rules on correspondence. All right, we don't do correspondence in the state rules. And that's the difference.
Okay. So yeah, the cause meeting, is on September the 18th.
18th, I believe.
And I am planning to be here for that meeting to present on behalf of Ltac and to answer questions that the committee might have. So,
And it's open to the public, anybody who wants to come.
anybody else wants to come and join me and sit out there and talk to the committee, please feel free to. All right. Anything else on PGP, Dr. Lofters?
Not for me. Does anyone has any other questions or see anything else? Please, if you don't see it now, let me know. These are going to be printed and sent down to the Commissioner's office now for review once it comes out of AQW.
I'll ask, if you've dialed in on the phone, if you would keep your mic on mute. We're getting some feedback. Thank you. Okay, moving forward. I forget what I said next. Inclusive Access Workgroup. So I'll ask Dr. Lofters to give a brief update there as well.
Let me give you an update. We had a meeting. Dr. Stowe was organized a meeting with what we call Ohio Link, which has a statewide agreement for institutions in Ohio for inclusive access type. I think they called it something a little bit different, but it's the same type of program. You know, they have digital access at the first day, and how they made the agreements and what things to look out for. Because I remember they said that, you know, to pay close attention to bookstores and to publishers, and you know, and gave us a roadmap on a way to proceed. So what they did is they provided us with several documents, including they gave us an actual textbook services agreement that they get to different publishers for their statewide agreement, several articles about inclusive access type programs, and I also have contact information for the Texas Digital Library and the Texas Library Consortium, as well as the representative. I'm not sure if everyone remembers, we had a representative from one of the publishers named Ms. Jennifer Hill, who was here from McGraw once and talked about inclusive access and her information. I put all that information into a folder. So if anyone is interested in going forward, like Mark, the new chair, you just give me your name. I will provide you this information. If you're interested in being part of this committee going forward with the inclusive access process, I will give you all this information to go through. It's pretty substantial. I mean, you know, substantial information. Some of the articles, you know, but they're very well done. And there's also a presentation that they gave. And the person that we had as the contact in Ohio Link was, I think her name is Gwen Evans, who is the executive director of Ohio Link. And her information is in there as well. So if you just give me your name, I'll provide this to you. You can go through it, and then when we come to the next meeting, if you want to be on the committee, we can then move forward from that point on. I think right now, when I was thinking about the meeting today, I didn't know if we wanted to make any big, you know, changes due to the fact that everybody's going to be different when we come to this next round. So if you're interested, just let me know, and I'm going to put your name down as well, and I'll provide you all the information that's in this folder. Elizabeth, let me find my paper. I got Elizabeth. Vicky?
I'm interested. Patrick?
Patrick. Rolando?
So I'll take it just a minute because Lydia has to catch a flight. But before you go, Lydia, you are rolling off the committee. Your term has expired. So I want to, on behalf of the Ltac committee, thank you for the work that you have done and the work you have been a part of the last 3 years over your term. And we thank you for your service. And we hope you are able to join the committee again in the future. And also, I will personally say, and not on behalf, on behalf of the committee, that we are keeping El Paso in our thoughts during this difficult time. And please let us know if we can do anything for you.
Oh, thank you, sir. It was a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, Lydia. Sorry, Andrew. Continue.
That was it. So I have Elizabeth, Vicky, Patrick, Rolando, and Ken.
Okay. Excellent.
And I'll send you all this information shortly. Oh, Daniel.
And Dr. Lofters, this may not be related, but is there any new information about the next round of OER grant RFP?
If you notice that we didn't have the updates this time, is because there was not really anything to say at this time. I think they were at a holding pattern. They're in part of the process, they were waiting for something to get done. So as soon as we got that finished, it would have been better just to go ahead and update in the next one. But no, I don't. Answer your question, no, I don't have anything right now.
Thank you.
Anything else on inclusive access? Okay. Move on to the 50-mile radius subcommittee or working group. The committee met and we discussed what we decided to do is that between now and our next meeting, I will work with coordinating board staff to pull exactly what the THECB rules say regarding 50-mile radius, the HERC rules regarding these regulations, and also pull documents from Ltac and other relevant sources so that we have all of that information together. I will share it with the working group individuals before our next meeting, which I believe will probably be in November, and then the next meeting we will kind of get together and talk about next steps. We may discuss some things via email before and then come together in November to do that. But I want to make sure we have everybody listed on the working group that want to stay involved and that. I know Josh is rolling off, so I'll stay there. Michelle, who's not here today, I would imagine she'll stay on. Okay. And then going down.
William, I think, is rolling off.
William, I think.
This is Michelle. I'll stay on.
Oh, you are there. Okay.
Oh.
Michelle will stay on. And then we've got Rolando Garza. And then we've got
Linda and Jacqueline.
Linda and Jacqueline. Mm-hmm. And who else? Because we had more people join in today. Ken, do you want to join in? Okay. You can make it work. Anybody else?
Half of our area is outside 50 miles.
Okay. We'll do that. Okay. Got to do that. Okay. That's all for us.
Okay.
And now we will turn to the Ltac survey work group. Patrick.
Thank you. We're going to spend most of the time actually looking at a demo and talking through next steps related to the online database to share this information more publicly. But first, I wanted to kind of give a timeline for administration of the survey next. I'd like to roll out this online database prior to the next administration and actually use it as a carrot to get institutions to participate. In fact, Mark will give some details about some premium features we'd like to consider implementing so that you only were able to see those at your institution if your institution had completed the survey. So that'll be a nice add. But looking at the next administration of it in March and April of next year, May at the latest, with results presented back to Ltac by the August meeting of 2020, and then uploaded in the database by November of 2020, and a broad go live for the database at that point if we haven't already gotten there. And that will kind of be in sync of having this concluded and have the data fresh as the legislature meets in the spring of 2021. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark to give us a demo of the functionality that he's added, and then step through our other areas of effort going forward. Mark?
And we are seeing it on the screen here, just to make sure that the people in the room in the back, that we're now looking at the screen.
And do I need a microphone?
Oh, yeah. You might want to use Daniel's, yes.
Okay, I think I could probably talk loud enough from my seat to where everybody online can hear me. So this is going to be a continuation of the demo I gave last time. There are a couple of additional features that I'm going to talk through, kind of the vision, and then at the very end we'll talk about the next steps and what we discussed. moving forward. So as we previously demoed, essentially what this does is it allows a user to come in here, select distinct criteria for institutions that they'd like to learn more about. So for instance, at my institution, we use Canvas, we use Turnitin for our plagiarism software, we use ProctorU, and then let's say that I wanted to see what other institutions are utilizing a multitude of different services for online services. So I can click Filter Institutions. It's going to give me a breakdown of the institutions that actually match my search criteria there with regards to those tags. This is what we saw last time, so it kind of gives just a very, very rudimentary ranking of those institutions, first by the percentage match and then in alphabetical order. New features now, when I find an institution that matches me, for instance, the Houston Community College System here, I can click on See All Details, and it's going to give me a detailed breakdown of the different features at that institution. So now I can drill down and see, okay, here are the technologies they have, additional information that they're providing related to those technologies, and then I can look at their institutional online structure. I can see what they're doing in terms of their online faculty, and that's as far as I've been able to code it with regards to this piece here. The vision for this is going to be that when you go to an institution's page, you're going to be able to sift through those. But then when you get to the faculty, it's also going to provide detailed information with regards to the hours of training that those faculty are participating in, if it's online or face-to-face, and pretty much anything that we have in terms of the data we've accumulated in this survey. So I can get detailed information for students. You're going to see all the options that might populate here, so it's going to be pretty bright, but in a real use case, you'd only get maybe one or two of these. So maybe instructors and other for who build your courses, or you might get all of them. So a breakdown on the courses, a breakdown in terms of security, if biometrics or anything else is being utilized, and then additional information for that institution. So that's the current state of this build. This is basically my roadmap for what I'll be building into this piece here. So I'd say by our November meeting, the actual functional demo should have everything that you see here. It's going to be a pretty light lift moving forward now that we've worked out the remaining pieces of code. In terms of what we're kind of trying to be mindful of here related to this survey, first and foremost, our current procedures. So I have generated this data and the database and everything for this using Google and Amazon services. Google offers a very, very low-cost database service called Firebase, and then Amazon Web Services has a plethora of options for easy deployment, low-cost features. The problem with that is it's all tied to my account right now. So if a bus hits me tomorrow, y'all are out your technology survey. So in our meeting, what we talked about was actually building an organizational account for both Firebase and AWS for Ltac, so that as people move in and out, they would have access to those if needed. I have a private repository where I have all the code related to this, and I'm going to be sharing that with pertinent members of the Ltac committee so that people can clone, fork, or do anything they might need to with that repo. And then I also will create documentation on how this all works. As far as the current workflow goes, we have a couple of manual pieces that we're hoping to automate in the future. Currently, Patrick has to actually export what they have in the Qualtrics database, send me a CSV file. I have to fire up a local server on my computer, convert that file to a file that browsers can understand, and then the rest of these steps here that seem like gibberish are how I actually get them into a database that I can pull into the demo over here. So it's a fairly simple, straightforward process, but there are manual pieces here that we'd like to automate. So I'm going to be looking at a couple of services that Amazon and Google offer that might allow us to do that, and then Patrick's going to be touching base with Qualtrics to see if they have any application protocols that we can use to essentially access the database without him having to send that email. Beyond that, Patrick mentioned the premium features. So one of the challenges we have here is we only have 70 institutions that have participated in this survey. And the question was, how can we get more institutions to participate? On the one hand, we want to provide this information to all of the institutions in Texas so that they can at least be knowledgeable. But we do think there's some premium features we could build in that would encourage institutions to participate so they would have access to those premium features. So what we're looking at doing maybe in the future is building out a user profile And premium users would have the ability to have an algorithm that would automatically, based on their user profile, provide them and populate them with the 3 institutions that best match what they have going on at their institution. So they'll always have those pre-populated to their profile. We'd be looking to update the current code for this. This is written just in strict web design templates of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We'd be looking to update it to languages that match web apps. And I think long term, what we would be able to do is build a mobile application around this that Ltac members could use, so you could access this information anywhere on the go. That would be tied to premium users. So again, anybody who's actually fulfilled the requirements of the survey would be able to access the mobile application. The ability to update contact information for that user directly in the application itself. Visualize year-over-year trends, so every time we issue this survey, actually seeing what trends are happening with regards to what technologies or practices. And then also, premium users will have the ability to favorite other institutions, do side-by-side comparisons of their institution with other institutions, and then also do saved profiles and data and searches that they've performed. So future directions, we're going to update the application to the language of React, JavaScript, and React Native, which will allow us to write a mobile application, and then also start to build the year-over-year documentation and analytics into it so that you can actually see this year, here's how many institutions were using this LMS, and then next year when the survey comes out, how many are using it now versus last year. So we hope that this will help with looking at maybe trends in higher education, specifically in the state of Texas. As far as cost goes currently, the features we're using in Google and Amazon are costing us $0. A lot of the features we're currently using have scalability where I don't think we would ever be anywhere near in fracturing or getting to a point where we'd actually have to pay. But there are a couple of hosting pieces that might cost a little bit, but we're not ready to make a formal ask in terms of those just yet. We want to get this to where it's solid and ready to use, and then maybe issue a free demo out to the committee to test. So that's currently where we are with the technology survey database and website.
Mark, did you cover your point about who would have access and how authentication would work?
I did not. Thank you, Patrick. So one of the other features we were going to be talking about with regards to administrative and security protocols is building out a login page and setting parameters for that login page so that only staff or faculty members who are approved from higher education institutions would have access to create accounts and then access the database. And we would limit that based, and then we could also kind of fragment that to limit full accessibility based on credentials. So if Patrick logs in and Patrick is an authenticated user, he can have access to the database, see everything. But if he's also listed as the admin for his institution, he can then go in and make appropriate changes. Whereas someone else from UNT might not be able to do that. They can just see the data in the database. And then also by doing this, we'll limit the accessibility to only staff or faculty within the institution and prevent students from having access to it.
And there might be other populations that we need to consider, such as coordinating board officials, right? So we'd want to put that in the list of acceptable email domain names. So it might be unt.edu, .gov from the coordinating board. It also may be that we need to give some access to legislative representatives. So we need to consider that too. But we'd start, I believe, by populating it for Texas public and private EDU institutions and coordinating board staff, and then we can broaden it from there. Love to hear additional ideas. I think the concern is that we don't want this to be targeted by vendors who are then going to use it to connect directly to these directors of distance learning and harangue them or harvest the information about what they're using now and who might be a potential client. It would be very valuable in that sense, but that's not the intended use, and we don't want it to be a frustration point for those who have agreed to provide this information. One thing we didn't touch on that we probably need to, and I thought about it when you were talking about doing a web app and having it be maybe web responsive as well, is accessibility. So we'll need to run an accessibility check on this and make sure that everything is fully compliant. And Justin asked me a question about, well, could institutions go in and update their their survey responses. And we talked about that briefly when Mark just mentioned that if you were an admin for your institution, you could go in and update information. That was in the context of just the email and phone number information, not the actual survey content. It makes it really hard to do analysis if you would allow folks to go in ad hoc and update their information. You'd have to have some period where then you lock it down. So that might be something we consider in the future. But also we had a conversation about, could we pre-populate the survey for those who had completed it in the most recent year, and when we go to administrate it again, allow them to review and update their responses and submit it rather than starting from scratch, since a lot of their stuff probably is very similar or exactly the same in some instances. So that's also kind of future steps. And regarding the cost piece, there's no ask at this point. Something that came up in our conversation was the once you get to a certain threshold using Amazon Web Services or Google Firebase, then they want to charge you. But that number of hits is in the million range, and once you hit 1 million, then it's very low cost. So
On the dollar,
yeah, cents on the dollar. So what we might be looking at eventually is $20 to $50 a month subscription to have all of these capabilities. Of course, all the programming time and expertise that Mark's volunteering comes at no charge, though it is indeed very valuable. We were concerned about the sustainability of this, and also wanted to acknowledge that Dr. Mock and Lydia Tenia were also in the conversation and very helpful. But yeah, what if Mark wins the lottery, and we hope he does, but gosh, that would sure curtail his commitment, I think, probably to this. So that's why the importance of creating an organizational account that others have access to and extensive documentation. So if we were to lose Mark to good fortune, that we would still be able to continue the great work that he's put into it. So available for comments and questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Mark, for all of the work that y'all have done on this. I think, thinking back to when this started 5 years ago, yeah, I don't know if I ever thought we would, get to a point where we've got a database that we can actually mine this data. And Patrick put a lot of work in, and UNT put a lot of work in to get us to this point. So thank you, Patrick, for all of that, and continuing to lead that group. So with that, I'll ask if there are questions from the committee about what Mark has shown here, what Patrick discussed, or the survey process in general.
Well, I had a question. Is there a way that, because first of all, this is very impressive, very, very well done. And thank you very much for your work. This is excellent. I'm sure this is going to require at least an approval somewhere along the way inside the coordinating board. Is there a way that you could provide the same presentation if I was able to connect you with whoever I need to find out who this approval needs to go to, just to show the same exact thing so that they know what we're doing? So therefore, there's no surprises, when we get to a certain stage where we think we should be able to move forward, but there's something that's holding us back. So I'd rather up front show them exactly which direction you're going. And could you, even if it was at a distance virtually, so that maybe if not prior to the meeting in November, that we could do that, or maybe during the meeting in November at the work group, that the people could come down and look, and you could provide this to them, But I would just like to is there a way that you could, is this just through you? It's just your account. No one else can see this information except you.
Right now, it's all locally hosted, and I'm restricting most of the things. Is it? Thought I pressed it again, so I think it's on. Okay, yeah, it's on. Okay. Yes, currently, I'm the sole gatekeeper of this.
Okay.
I could do a localized demo for them in November, or if we did need to do it remotely, we could just do a VoIP call, and then I could show them that as well. Yeah.
And the reason being, I say it because it's, I think it's outstanding. I mean, if I was an institution, I'd look at it myself. So I would like to talk with the people first.
Okay.
And find out who I need to talk with. Because I remember when we did the survey, I had to go in front of the Yeah, data collection committee, thank you. Data collection committee, in order to get that approved and when we started doing the survey. So I'm sure that this will be a public-facing, correct? Mineable search feature.
But behind authentication, so limitedly public-facing.
Limitedly public.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
so the authentication piece is you would have to work at a public or private education, institution of higher education in Texas to have access to it, or other domains that we agree, such as coordinating board staff.
That's
Would be public-facing, but a limited public audience.
Gotcha.
yeah, and I mean, if they do want to pursue a more public-facing kind of piece to this, there are components that we can modify, where we could pull the point of contact, you know, and then you can see on an institution level, here's what everybody's using, but it doesn't give you who to contact at that institution, so that it keeps those types of details private.
So I'm writing down now, find the person of the contact, and I'll be back in touch with you and Patrick.
Okay.
Fantastic. Would love to do it prior to the November meeting if possible. So if there are any concerns, we could begin to address those and keep the momentum going.
I'll do that. That'll be my goal.
Good thought. Thank you so much.
This
Anything
is
else?
Alicia. I just want to make one plea that we don't forget the private institutions would really be good partners in this. If we need to request assistance from ICUT or another organization, speaking for myself, this information was extremely valuable and it helped my institution make better decisions. So I'd like to stay active in that role, and I want to make sure that private institutions are allowed to participate and that we make sure they have methods for having that participation.
Absolutely. I think that's real important, and we have worked through with ICUT to distribute the survey. We've had limited responses, so that's an area we need to work on. There's nothing compelling private institutions to complete it, but I'm really pleased to hear that it was helpful to your institution to make better decisions. So anything we can do to launch a bit of a public information campaign among privates that, hey, participating is worth your while, especially if we integrate some of these or implement some of these premium features, it may be even more valuable to them, but absolutely want to be inclusive.
Thank you. And I would say that even though I'm rolling off the committee, and this is probably my last meeting, if you would like for me to assist with that, I would be very happy to do so.
I appreciate that offer and plan to take advantage of it. Thank you.
Okay, moving forward on our agenda, the next item is discussion of future agenda items and meeting dates. But before we get there, I would like to take a moment and thank all of the members that are rolling off. This is their last meeting. So Josh is rolling off. Francisco.
Somebody just rolled off.
Sharita Love, Jacqueline, no, never mind, you're reappointed, Steve Levy, and Anna Pena, Mary Smith from SFA, William, and then Alicia, and then Lydia. So I want to thank all of you that have served with us the last couple of years, and thank you all for your work. We really appreciate it. Those of you that have been reappointed, we'll see you again in November. And those of you that were not, we hope we see you again, or at least we know we will work with you at different things, and not the least of which is the survey. So thank you for your service and everything that you've done. So now we'll move to future agenda items and meeting dates. First, let's go ahead, because we do have some people that are starting to leave for travel and other things. So if we could talk meeting dates first, then we can go to agenda. So I believe the next time we would need to meet would be in November.
The month of November, correct.
And Andrew, you have a couple of dates in mind.
Correct. I have November 1st, November 8th, and November 22nd right now as tentative dates for the Ltac meetings. They're all Fridays. I was first going for the November 1st date. I wanted to see if there was any concerns with November 1st. And those on the phone, if you If you could look at your calendars as well, if you have anything right now, if November 1st doesn't have any problems, I'll go ahead and set it for that date. So far, I'm seeing nods of yes.
Anybody on the phone, on the committee, have an issue with November 1st?
You can. Oh, we couldn't. All right.
Okay.
Virtually?
No.
Exhausting all possibilities.
My institution's
All right. So we have one.
When we meet here, unless if Mark can do the virtual presentation to the, if Mark can do the virtual presentation to the appropriate coordinating board staff before November 1st, we could continue to move the survey forward.
I think that would be okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we could do that, that's one. Any other issues with November 1? Okay. Then let's go ahead and set November 1 as our next meeting, 10 to 2:30 here at the coordinating board. And now discussion of future agenda items. I believe Dr. Lofters, you said we will have at least one doctoral.
Yes, we have at least one distance ed doctoral committee, or sorry, doctoral proposal that will come in front of the subcommittee that you'll be receiving shortly.
Okay. So we'll have that. We would like to.
Dr. Louder?
Ma'am?
And is there a need for Ltac to look at that doctoral proposal or Dr. Lofters before November 1st, the full Ltac?
Yes, you mean to review it, the subcommittee to review it?
No, to do it at the Ltac review level.
Oh, no. We don't have to do it prior to November 1st. November 1st is fine. We can do
Perfect.
that in face-to-face meeting.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll do that. I'd like having the coordinating board updates. So at that point, we'll probably have more for updates. Possibly the OER grant, possibly something from California, or we hope something from California, Jessica, and other relevant information from coordinating board.
Noted.
We will do the working groups again.
If there are any updates on the OER grant program, if those could be included.
Gotcha.
At that point, will it be far enough to get any updates with in addition to regular coordinating board, any of the legislative actions that go into effect September 1 that may impact distance or online education? I don't know if there's anything there,
I can
but
look to see if
just in
there's
case.
something.
And I have an item that I don't know if we want to make it an agenda item or a discussion, but I've started noticing, at least at my institution and talking with colleagues, because so much of institutional as bachelor's degree programs, because the core at so many institutions is available online. If you think about an 120-hour bachelor's degree program and the core being, anywhere between, 45 and 60 hours or something, at some point, I think we're going to get to a place where every single one of our degrees are hybrid in nature. And if we look at coordinating board rules and other things, you're supposed to, notify y'all and stuff like that. Could we have a discussion on just kind of the state of that?
Let me see if I can recap that. So you're saying that
So the core curriculum at so many institutions is available fully online.
Okay.
So, and then if a student takes just a couple of online classes, their degree program has gone from, face-to-face to hybrid or maybe even beyond without really the institution maybe taking note of that because of the core. So I just want to have a discussion on like that hybrid definition a coordinating board and, how institutions should be looking at degree programs. I know there are some that are looking at, and they're getting all of their degrees, or they're talking internally at least, all their degrees being approved as hybrid degrees. And then you've got, other people that don't like that.
All right, state of the hybrid definition and relationship to core and distance education. That sound?
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
I would echo that. I mean, what's the role of intentionality in considering whether something needs to be improved or not? A lot of folks are discovering that they're delivering online programs, though that wasn't their intent, but because of the core courses being available to them online, it is in fact now, by definition, more than 50% online for a given student. It's an online degree, and that would necessitate notification and/or approval.
Correct, once it passed 60, yes. All right, I got that down.
This is Jacqueline.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have an item?
So to that point, though, this is with regard to offering those core curriculum courses within a single institution, as opposed to those that are being transferred in, correct?
Yes.
Right. Because it's the responsibility in terms of the holistic part of it. But if you're transferring in coursework, you're transferring in coursework. And for the moment, we're not making a distinction on that transferred coursework being online or any other modality.
Right. I think what I'm getting at is the student that starts the institution with no previous coursework, and because the entire core is available online, they're getting to that 50% or more very quickly, and it might not be the institution's, it may not have been, as Patrick said, the institution's goal to have that as a hybrid degree program. And just kind of a discussion, I know we're partially have to deal with, because SAC's definition says anything over 50% of a degree is a distance degree, but just a conversation here internally as well.
And I do want to add
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Ma. I did want to add that, since our accounting of these programs, of the offerings that are online, is programmatic. It's at the programmatic level. I'd have to look in to see if there's any. I don't see a way right now, at least what I'm thinking, that I can look at how many institutions have all their core online. Because right now, the only time we know that they're online is once they've already gone past 50. So
Right.
I could just tell, how many.
Right. I just wanted to. Anything else? Okay, anything from individuals on the phone? Okay, hearing nothing. Dr. Peebles has joined us, and I'm not sure, do you have something you want to talk with the committee, or you just wander down to hang out? Okay. Okay. Hearing anything else, any other discussion from the committee? Okay, with that, I will motion for an adjournment, and thank you all for being here today. Thank you those of you on the phone for calling in and joining us. And those of you that are staying on, we'll see you back on November the 1st, and those of you that are rotating off, once again, we thank you for your service. We stand adjourned.